76, and we still don't have Richard's remains, which the military, the FBI, absolutely have. They absolutely have it. Um, and it took almost 4 years for the U.S. Army to give us the notice of death, what we knew from the very beginning, and worked very hard providing leads and evidence that absolutely prove foul play, prove that Richard was murdered. And it took almost 4 years for them to give us the notice of death. And so now we want our son's remains, because we were right all along for that long of time. And every day in and out, we've been doing this, and we know that they have Richard's remains. So yeah, we want Richard's remains, because it proves that this is. Let me get on Facebook and make sure everything's okay. It's been a very long day, and of course, we're so devastated through all of this, and then we get this hate-filled language still, even, and have to deal with the likes of Bob Moore, who has an agenda with Leilani Hart. Um, you know, yeah, it's, and so I'm going to explain that today. Um, the agenda, right? I probably should have named this live stream the agenda. Make sure that I'm on. Doesn't look like I'm on. Am I not on? Hmm. Let me restart this. Maybe my phone is just kind of glitching. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for coming on. Okay, so we are up and running. 1,376 days, no body, no remains, and we want Richard's remains. This live stream is called Leilani, Hart, Eddie, and the General. And so we're going to talk about the agenda. We're going to talk about the propensity for violence, the motive here, and connecting the dots. We've been collecting crumb by crumb, putting this all together. It was called Operation Hansel and Gretel, to lead us to getting answers for Richard. And we had gathered so many crumbs and gave it and freely, transparently gave it to the authorities, the law enforcement authorities, who were lied to. I want everyone to explain, to want to understand this fact. This small group of people in specific positions lied to the law enforcement, lied to the law enforcement community. And this is something I've learned through these 4 years, is that we depend on the law enforcement community for the investigation in order to identify crime and gather up all the evidence to give to a district attorney to prosecute the crime. To also, because the prosecutors also, um, you know, identify the criminal and the crime and all the evidence they gather. They document it all from all the law enforcement. It all works together in order to prosecute. And if the law enforcement community is being lied to constantly, right, then that right off the bat, it obstructs justice right off the bat. And so when the narratives in the news, the narratives through the guard mounts, the narratives through tampered reports, um, the manipulating of reports, the deleting of reports, the sanitizing reports, um, that is really an assault on our law enforcement community, right? Because it makes them look bad. And, they have this inside right now, a few that are up to no good and make the whole law enforcement community look bad. And this is a major problem, and this is why this we cannot look away from this. What Marlon Soto did, what Tavita Nusa did with Leilani Hart, what Dallas Hart did, what Clem Coward, Major General Clem Coward, allowed, what DES Thomas Kane was allowed to do, what he allowed, and what Bob Moore did, and then of course Bill Hicks. So there's a lot of people involved in this, and it can just you get so overwhelmed with all of the facets of this case because it can absolutely take down Fort Bliss. Okay, this can absolutely close down Fort Bliss. That's how big this is. That's why when I put up the other day when we made the comparison to Fast and Furious, when we made the comparison to Iran Contra, um, this is so big it can close down Fort Bliss because there's so many facets, and the more you get into it, the more you're like, what, wowzer, we something is very, very wrong in El Paso. Something's very, very wrong on Fort Bliss. So, so today, though, I want to talk about Leilani, Etty, and the general. And I think it's really important for people to understand the connection there. And also, this announcement that we have that we were, attacked again today, that Richard was attacked today. And we, you know, have reported that to the law enforcement authorities and others. But we decided to post it up because people need to understand that, this attack, instead of being horrified by it and mad by it, I think we need to leave our emotions aside. The first time I looked at it, I thought, oh, who is that? Who is that? See, this is what happens after going through it for 4 years. Just one vile and vulgar post after the other, message after the other. I just can't even tell you, and all the retaliation, the threats, everything. But you know language. And when I saw that insult today, which is, it's like the hit of a weapon, right? They want to hit you with a weapon. They want to injure you with a weapon. And what is their purpose? Their purpose is to get you to go away. Go away. They're hitting us with this weapon of words, with this insult, and, who insults like that? Well, I can tell you that we have suspicion of who it is. We have a good suspicion of who this whistling wambus is. It what is it called again? The wampus or whatever. Let me look, because I posted it up. Oh my gosh, today's been very busy day. Yeah, where is it? Yeah, the whistling wampus, right? The whistling wampus. Um, so what, uh, who is this whistling wampus? And I think that people know who that is, right? I think they know who that is. And when you uh, read that message, I think people know who that is. And so that's why we decided to post it, because, we still have reward money, and Richard's remains are yet to be found. We know that he has officially been declared as deceased, but this is an ongoing case. This is an ongoing case. And, you know, um, this, matter of fact, this is a capital murder case. This is a capital murder case. And when you understand that, and this is to a soldier, to a whistleblowing soldier, to the first Vanessa Guillen absent soldier, look at what they did. We didn't call Richard the Vanessa Guillen first absent soldier. The Army did. The Army officially designated him the first Vanessa Guillen absent soldier, CONUS Des 1 absent soldier from the new Vanessa Guillen flowchart, right? Um, so, this is still ongoing. When we receive the notice of death and, devastated, 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 people say, how are you doing? We've been devastated for almost 4 years now. And the notice of death is just another blow to moving forward to get justice for Richard. So now they've admitted he's really, that the CID, this is an inside job, that he's murdered. And the media doesn't know what to do with it. They don't know what to do with this because the strings it pulls on, the threads. Matter of fact, I was thinking about this meme I needed to make of some kind of crochet going through El Paso and Fort Bliss, of these the threads, this terrible criminal network that this has created, that was created, and that caused so much death and destruction. And the spider walking on that is Leilani Hart. She's weaving this web, and and she is coming from Hawaii. And through these 4 years, we have been talking to victims. And so we have known for a while that she has a propensity to violence, that she's a violent person, and that she's a liar, and that she also will, what do you call that when you follow people and everything like that? Um, Hi, Ruth. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much. Find Richard Halliday. Thank you. We want his remains. Stalking, yeah. So she stalking people. She convicted criminal for lying to law enforcement authorities. Uh, but something more happened in Hawaii. She has had her first son, Eti, E-T-I, and he is said to have committed suicide. And we would not be telling everyone, being transparent, if we didn't mention this, because this is, the propensity of evil has to be proven when you are saying this person is a prime suspect in the murder of our son. Okay, because you can't just not have any evidence, right? And she has a propensity to evil, to violence. And Eddie is a big factor in that. There are many. I think there's, wow, how many people did we talk to? Um, you know, eh, she has a lot of criminal history, and a lot of bad things were going on in Hawaii. And one of those is the death of her son, Etty. And a lot of a lot of information surrounding him comes out that is shocking. That is really, really shocking. And can it be true? Well, we have the affidavit, right? We have the affidavit that is her confession. And so this gives weight to those witnesses that have come forward to what was going on in Hawaii and in the case of Etty. And it's important in regards to our son's case because she's a prime suspect in the murder of our son. And this absolutely corroborates uh, all the other evidence that shows that she can be violent, that she can be very violent, and that she can be very selfish, and that she can be very self serving, and that she is a criminal, that she is a convicted criminal. And maybe, and another investigation, maybe some open records can be requested in the case of Etty, because the information that's coming in just recently, a couple days ago on this live stream, the more information coming out to corroborate. That wasn't the first time I heard about it. Okay, um, all everything leads to Leilani and to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, right? This is the duality in this. There seems to be a lot of duality in this. Um, and what has taken law enforcement so long to designate Richard as deceased and give us Richard's remains and start making arrests. And it's so mind-boggling that we have to go through this, and we have to be the investigators, and we have to be the whistleblowers, and we have to document everything so it gets prosecuted. Because right now we don't have a legitimate prosecutor in the DA's office. We have to do this, um, you know, identifying the crime and all the record keeping um, until a legitimate DA gets in that office. And we're working on that too. So, this whole thing with Leilani and her oldest son, and and let's connect this all together to Richard now. So she has this propensity to violence, propensity for crime, that she's a convicted criminal. There's no doubt about that. And um and absolutely all the reports of assault and breaking restraining orders, and she was arrested. She was for breaking restraining orders. Um, so we have she threatened family, with her Samoan mob or whatever. Uh, you know, so there must be some kind of Samoan brotherhood in Hawaii that is protecting her, and there's some kind of Samoan or some other kind of brotherhood in El Paso that's protecting her because she still is not arrested yet. And clearly we have enough. Clearly we have enough information to get her arrested. And I hope that the law enforcement community will open up another investigation into the death of her son, Eddie, because the screams of foul play are getting louder and louder. You know, the cloud that she's walked around with is starting to thunderbolt, right? Um, it's getting very, very loud that something not right happened to Eddie. And, you know, so here she moves to El Paso, and she's in the military and she's working for Clem Coward. She absolutely, we have eyewitness testimony. We have witness testimony that not only was she working for him, but she was working for him for quite a long time. She absolutely knows Clem Coward, and Clem Coward knows her. And the connection. I know she's had a lot of plastic surgery. Okay, a lot of plastic surgery, which is, leads you to question a lot of things. Um, but yeah, wow. Um, and I'm just lost in my thoughts here, and I apologize because I know so much. I have so many crumbs, and all of a sudden they all come together, and it's like, whoo, oh my goodness. Um, when it comes to Leilani, you learn something new every day, and it's not something nice. It's not something good. And this whole thing with Eddie and Hawaii is not something good. And then she comes to El Paso and she starts causing a lot of trouble. But she finds her Samoan mob or some kind of sex cult mob or whatever. But she finds Tavita Nusa, right? So her and Tavita Nusa absolutely causing trouble. And she is parading him around. She is absolutely telling everyone what's going on. She's telling people after Richard was murdered that they were tampering with his file, that she had unauthorized access because she had a man on the inside, and parading him around. So you have this connection to Eddie, and then you have this connection to Tavita Nusa. Um, does Tavita Nusa have a connection with Eddie? Well, because she says that Tavita Nusa is family. I don't know if I believe that. Maybe it's because it's family according to the Samoan mob. I don't know. And I don't know if it's cartel, right? I don't know if Samoan mob dwarfs and changes into the cartel, right? Once you get to El Paso, Samoan mob and Hawaii, and then once you get to El Paso, it morphs into the cartel, with the cartel. But we know that Tavita Nusa is a dirty, forklift CID agent that lost his badge. He lost his badge. And absolutely, this is something that everyone needs to understand. He obstructed justice in Richard's case. Why? Why did they have to quiet Richard? So, of course, he's a whistleblower, and we have numerous um, pieces of evidence that corroborates that Richard absolutely confirms that Richard was a whistleblower. So, and the evidence is piling up for foul play with Eddie. I mean, that is piled up, y'all. It's not even like a guess that there was foul play. There was foul play with Eddie's case somehow, some way, because there's too much evidence for it. And you've got to follow the evidence. So, um, so her relationship, and absolutely, we have it corroborated that it was a sexual relationship between Leilani Hart and dirty CID agent Tavita Nusa. And, this whole sex cult thing, keep it in mind with everything, with everything. And there's another commonality, and that's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So it would be interesting if we, what church General Clem Coward belongs to. Not that that's a church, it's a congregation. They call it a congregation. Um, it would be interesting because there seems to be a commonality with all of this. And it's like some kind of brotherhood. It's like some kind of you know, community connection. And, are they all connected? Okay, maybe through LDS. I don't know. Maybe not all of them are LDS. Okay. Um, maybe Samoa Mob. No, maybe not all of them are Samoa Mob, but are they all connected to El Paso Community Foundation? Is that their community? Is that who they're loyal to? Because that's ringing pretty loud. That's ringing very loud. And yeah. So I'm just wondering if Clem Coward um, was in the community of the El Paso Community Foundation. Was he connected? Because absolutely Leilani Hart was working for him. Absolutely she knew him. Absolutely, uh, you know, for a long time. He was there for a long time. And who is Major General Clem Coward? He's Richard's commanding general. He was the commanding general from 32nd ADCOM. And why was he removed right before we got there? So, like, right at the beginning of September, right? At the beginning of September, problems, you know. Um, so he was removed from 32nd ADCOM. There's problems there. And so the evidence, what does it take to murder a soldier? What does it take to silence a soldier by murdering him and then remove his remains and desecrate his remains from the footprint of Fort Bliss? Well, it's handy if you have a man on the inside of the CID. It's handy if you have a community relationship or more with Richard's commanding general. It is very handy if you have a relationship with Richard's platoon leader. It is also very handy if you have a relationship with the DES Thomas Kane, which we absolutely know that they had a relationship. 100%. And he is the director of emergency services. He is in control of the cameras, the surveillance cameras on Fort Bliss. Every last one of them, he has control over. Every last one of them. So what does it take if you have a whistleblower? And, is Clem Coward dirty in this case? And he's connected to Leilani Hart. Is he dirty, though? Because we know Tavita Nusa is dirty. We know that DES Thomas Kane is dirty. We have a letter from him. The evidence was so overwhelming. So now we know that Bob Moore is dirty because, uh, you know, what does it take? You need to control the narrative. So you need to have the media. You need to have El Paso Matters, who's owned by El Paso Community Foundation. So, so what does it take? A dirty commanding general of Richard Halliday. So I'll say this again. Is he dirty? I'll ask it again. Is he dirty? Well, we know he's dirty. Why? Because he abused his power. And it's his signature on the permanent GOMAR given to Richard for what? For something that Richard maintained his innocence with, and the allegation was dismissed against him. And that was the setup of the canine cop, the Ken canine cop in the parking lot, in the well-lit parking lot at midnight, that made the illegal traffic stop of Richard to frame him for DWI. And Richard maintained it. We have the videos now. They didn't want you to see that. Those videos, I think, were one of the last straws in order to get the declaration of death, the notice of death from the military. Because you see, that video absolutely shows an illegal traffic stop in a well-lit parking lot at midnight by a canine cop. A canine cop who's a relative of the key suspects in Richard's case, and also connected to the victim of the Walmart shooting, one of the victims of the Walmart shooting. Jesus Melendez is not the victim, he's the canine cop. And it was clearly a frame job. And we clearly have open investigations. And we don't want to hurt those investigations. I'm just telling you the fact. The fact is, he has conflicts of interest, we call them, right? He has conflicts of interest. And he absolutely illegally, because Richard was not zooming around over, hitting a sign or something like this. There was no probable cause to stop him. And the video shows how beautiful character he is. That he absolutely was respectful. He absolutely could not be arrested, but they arrested him even so. I mean, he was standing out in attention, saying, yes, sir, and being totally cooperative. There was no probable cause. And that was private property. So, so what does it take for Leilani Hart, for Dallas Hart, for Tavita Nusa? If there's a whistleblower and you have motive, because we absolutely have confirmed that Richard's a whistleblower. We've absolutely confirmed that there were audits, that things were getting turned upside down because of Halliday. And Richard's, that traffic stop that he maintained his innocence for, And absolutely, that video was right there available for General Clem Coward, Major General Clem Coward. And yet, he chose to abuse his power and give Richard a permanent GOMAR. It was an act of retaliation, y'all. It was part of their agenda. Their agenda to murder Richard, to silence him. They wanted to silence him and then get away with it. Get away with silencing him so their agenda can continue. Their criminal activities could continue. And and so when Judge Alma Trejo, who is running for district attorney right now in El Paso, and she's the one that dismissed Richard's case. She dismissed it. And, what were they going to do on July 9th when Richard's case was dismissed, that he had always maintained his innocence and the video proved it? What was Clem Coward going to do? Oh, I'm so sorry I gave you a permanent GOMAR to ruin your whole life, your whole career. No, soon after that, Richard was forcibly removed in uniform from his barracks room, and he was brutally murdered, and his body was taken from Fort Bliss and desecrated, which is also a crime, a major crime. And the way they desecrated his body, I think it's 99 years in prison, right? 99 years in prison. So what does it take for Leilani Hart? You have to have a general, Clem Coward. You have to have someone, an inside man in the CID, to mislead the law enforcement community. You have a general that gives orders. You have a DES that hides the CCTV footage from all of Fort Bliss. He can manipulate every camera. And then, of course, her son, Dallas Hart, Richard's platoon leader. Now, it is no wonder that when we try to share our information on chat sites, on veterans chat sites, it was a veterans chat site today that I shared information. Well, we're burning midnight oil. So that was this vile calling Richard, who has just, it's not enough that they retaliated against him constantly, severely. It's not enough that they forcibly removed him from his room in uniform. It's not enough that they brutally murdered him. It's not enough that they desecrated his body. It's not enough that they try to cover it up and attack him after he, has been killed, and attack the family and bully the family and harass the family. That's not enough. That after they finally get the notice of death, they have to continue and call Richard the N-word. Now, let's analyze this N-word, this calling Richard an N-word. We know that that's a no-go. Anyone out there will rather use the F word 1,000 times before they even think about using the N word. Why? Because society has absolutely said it's a no-go. It has such a derogatory connotation that it's a no-go. It's so hurtful to our community because it's racist. And it's so hurtful to our community that you don't go there or you lose your job or you risk losing your job or getting a defamation. And so who would use this word? People that have people on the inside. People that are in the inside that have people in the inside. People that have the inside in the law enforcement community. People that feel like they are not at risk of having to obey any of our social laws or any of our regular laws, that they can act with impunity, they can act with vile and vulgar racism, and they feel like they can get away with it. That's who does this kind of stuff. So that really sounds like our little group, doesn't it? It sounds like the little Leilani Hart group, that they feel like they can brag that they have a man on the inside, that they're tampering with a missing soldier's, a murdered soldier's case, all over El Paso, all over Fort Bliss, that they can act with impunity, that they don't have to suffer any consequences. They can write papers that say it was a code red. They can use their DES connection. They can use their Major General Clem Coward connection. They can use, the media connection, Bob Moore El Paso Matters connection. And that they will be covered and that they can do whatever they want, even use the N-word with impunity. Even after the soldier, the Fort Bliss soldier, has been declared, given a notice of deceased, and the family is absolutely devastated, and that can be used against the family, against the mother, and yes, that's me, and they feel like they can get away with it. They have just that boldness, that surety, because they have inside people. Now, if that is not more evidence that Richard was murdered and that these people have a propensity for violence, for acting with impunity, for thinking that they could even murder someone and get away with it, and cover it up and whatever, and desecrate a corpse, desecrate the remains of a soldier, of a Fort Bliss soldier, and get away with it. It's so clear. It's so clear that whoever said this whistling wampus, is part of the group. It's evidence. It's a lead. Hello, this is a lead. And we want our son's remains. And I really feel like, because this is only a little facet, y'all, of this big picture. And even this little facet is so big that you have a Leilani Hart, a convicted criminal, being used by the media, Bob Moore, the mother of Richard's platoon leader, being, using her cousin, I guess, her nephew. Some people say cousin, some people say nephew. I don't see any connection. I don't know. But her lover, who she had a relationship with, and I don't even want to use the word lover, the sex cult, partnership, Tavita Nusa, the dirty agent in the Fort Bliss CID, and then this relationship with Major General Clem Coward. And I think that the common denominator in all of this is El Paso Community Foundation. Now, I might be wrong. We've contacted El Paso Community Foundation. We have absolutely cried out to them, reached out to them, wanted their explanation. We've done the same to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We've cried out to Bob Moore, like 14 times we've cried out to Bob Moore. And so now, that's why it's time. It's time for legal action. And we're in Richard's shoes now, which puts us in a place where we can do just that. We can do that and be much more effective. For the longest time, they were all telling us, get a lawyer, get a lawyer, get a lawyer. It's no. First, you have to have all the evidence. You've got to gather it beyond a reasonable doubt. And then, you drive them to give you the notice of death, and then you can put Richard's shoes on, and so it all takes time. And it shouldn't have to be this way. It shouldn't have to be this way, but this is where we're at. And even the unjust judge will give the widow justice. And that's what that notice of death was. I don't think that they wanted to give it to us, but they had to. They had to. The evidence is there. And, uncovering everything about Major General Coward, it's all coming out. And with Eddie, it's all coming out. And it's just unraveling. It's just absolutely unraveling because people are, reaching out to us and giving us this information. And, we never wanted to be put in a place that we're in a case that's larger than Fast and Furious, larger than the Iran-Contra, that could absolutely shut down Fort Bliss. Absolutely shut down Fort Bliss. When, Richard is a son of a family with more than 76 combined years of service, military service. He is from a military family. And he was so excited. He was going to be, serving as an agent in the CID. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to be a criminal investigative division agent. And we have the paperwork to confirm that. Marlon Soto confirmed that. Richard wanted to be CID. And that's all going to come together for everybody. But let's focus on Leilani Hart. If she wanted to silence somebody, could she do it? Does she have the propensity for evil? Yes. Does she have the network to do this kind of evil murder? Yes. Who is the main prime suspect? Her son, Dallas Hart. the platoon leader, Richard's platoon leader. Who is the cover up? Let's not contact the family now. Let's not look for him. We have information that Coward called off the search for Richard. Called off the search. Because on day 3 you have to search. He called that off. They never searched for him until we came into the picture way after. We had to even drive them to do that. So who's going to cover for the military front? Clem Coward. Who's going to cover for the law enforcement? And also give access to witness statements, to tampering with the file. When you're tampering with files, you tamper with witness statements, you tamper with video, you tamper with what, in Richard's file. And that was Dirty Agent CID Tavita Nusa. And then who would make sure that those cameras, that footage doesn't get out or doesn't even happen, and that, you have the right guards at the right gates or whatever, and that is DES Thomas Kane. And who is going to help twist the narrative against Richard, or not report it at all, or then lately give a false narrative by even stealing content, even using Richard's picture without permission. That's Bob Moore of El Paso, El Paso Matters, that didn't even contact us for a statement when we have been calling out, crying out, wanting to talk with them. And don't forget, Bob Moore colluded with Bill Hicks, the DA. That's illegal to take down Yvonne Rosales. So that's a whole nother facet, but I just had to insert that a little bit because this is all connected. And the more information that comes out, the more connections that you see, the more it makes sense, and you absolutely know that Richard was murdered. So let me take any kind of comments. Thank you, Ruth, for coming on. Thank you, Anicia, for your love and prayers. Thank you, Danielle, for your prayers and all your good wishes. So this is, I know it's really late, burning the, wow, it's almost 20 minutes to 1. So I just want to say, we'll climb every mountain. We'll go down every alley, cross every stream, or, the whole thing, because what has happened in the case of our son cannot be allowed to happen without consequences and without accountability. It cannot. So, God bless you. Thank you. Please share. Please share. I have no monetary gain out of this. I don't have any kind of monetary on any of this. Please share. The gain is for El Pasoans. The gain is for the defense of the Constitution. The gain is to get Richard's remains to us. The gain is for America. The gain is also for all of the international. The dominoes just tumble. And so, when justice prevails, there's a blessing. It's a blessing of life, just a blessing. I don't know how, like an explosion of blessing. I don't want to say explosion. Just it emanates And so thank you so much. And we need that, what do they call it? The force multiplier, the people that will share, 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 and comment and like. Thank you so much. God bless you. Until tomorrow.